Without further ado, I'd like to introduce this month's speaker, Katy Olusanya. She's going to be giving her talk, The Greatest Promise of All, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about her winding journey to setting up her dream business. But as with many of us that are self-employed just now, the last year has been a bit of a struggle. On top of that, she has got a beautiful newborn to look after. So she's going to tell us a bit about that and also share some self-care practices that we can all adopt in helping us through challenging times.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I want to kind of apologise straight away if my dog starts barking and my baby starts crying. Hopefully they won't, but you never know. So apologies in advance. So yeah, promises, an interesting topic. So layered, so rich. They got me thinking about all the promises that I've made to myself, throughout my life. New Year's resolutions being one, marriage promises, um, promises I made to my friends, my family, my work colleagues. But it also got me thinking about, the promises I've broken, New Year's resolutions and the promises I haven't kept to myself, and how that's impacted me. What has that done to me in terms of how does that make me feel? And it got me thinking as well about the different promises I made throughout my life. So I thought I'd start my story in 2010. I was working in London in Canary Wharf, working for Barclays, corporate finance, marketing job, high pressure, really busy. And I was really unhappy in my job, really unfulfilled, really lacking in inspiration, lacking in fulfillment, lacking in purpose, just feeling a bit lost. I just didn't understand why I was doing this job that kind of offered me so little joy. And I was doing it obviously Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And I decided I really needed change. I really needed a change of scenery. And so I booked a holiday to go see my friends in Australia, in Sydney, who'd been living out there for a few years. And I had the most brilliant time with them, 3 weeks of just fun and adventure and sunshine and light. Life just seemed just so much lighter out there, just so much more enjoyable, without the kind of daily commute and the slog and the doom of gloom of London during the financial crisis. So I left the holiday and I promised my friends I'll be back, and I promised myself, okay, adventure. I promised myself adventure. So I came back at the end of January of 2010, booked a flight, quit my job, and flew back about 6 weeks later to Sydney to start this new life. And I did. I had the most incredible 4.5 years. It was everything I dreamed of. It was, camper van trips and beach parties and barbecues and festivals. And, I lived in Bondi overlooking the beach, and I could see whales from our lounge windows and dolphins out the window. And I had friends that became like family. And it just really was everything in terms of adventure and fun that I'd been looking for. But still, I was doing a corporate job because, when I'd arrived, I needed a job, and the recruiters all pushed me into, what my experience was in, which was kind of marketing, the finance, corporate world. So again, I'd been doing a job that, again, although my environment had changed and I was just so much happier because of the sunshine and the fun and adventure, I was still doing a job that just left me feeling so unfulfilled. I knew I had more to give. I knew I had more value to give. And I wanted to care about what I did. I was so sick of just feeling like I didn't care at all about what I did. I didn't feel, motivated by selling financial products. The values of the financial industry weren't aligned to my own. And, I knew that something had to change. So I was with a partner at the time who was really interested in the idea of living in an intentional community. So off grid, away from the corporate life, away from the 9 to 5 slog, basically living in a community where you work together, grow your own vegetables, and kind of are totally off grid. So I started mulling this idea over and basically decided actually, yeah, okay, let's give this a go. Why not? And it was a really difficult decision to make because no one really understood what I was, what I was doing. My family and friends were thinking I was going to live in like a commune. No one I know had done it. It was really unconventional. So basically, it was a really difficult decision to make. But I just thought, you know what, let's just try it. Maybe this is the answer. Maybe I need to live in this alternative way of living. And I've been getting really into yoga at this point, and I thought, okay, let's give it a try. So we kind of packed up our life in Sydney, moved over back to the UK, bought a motorhome, kind of a large camper van essentially, and drove over to Portugal. And as luck would have it, a friend of mine from Sydney, her brother had bought a huge plot of land in Portugal with the intention of building this community. He was a builder and he needed help with people coming to help build it, basically. So we thought, well, look, we'll go there and see what happens. So we drove over and yeah, began living in this community. And it was absolutely incredible. It was the most beautiful way of living. We got up with sunrise and, we went to bed as kind of a sunset, and we lived at the top of this beautiful mountain, and there was two huge big domes there, and a converted double-decker bus, a big teepee. It was, it really was magical. We did yoga every day. We did meditation every day. I learned so much about vegan cooking. We only ate organic vegan food. So it was amazing, but it was also really challenging. The amenities there were so basic. When we got there was like one outdoor shower, there was one toilet. It was really, really isolated. It was in the middle of nowhere. We were really restricted in terms of what we were eating, no drinking, and it could get really lonely. So we were kind of one of the few couples who were kind of there long term. Lots of people would come and go, so it was very transient. I'd make friends and they'd stay a couple of months or a month or 2 weeks, and then they'd go. So I was constantly kind of creating new relationships, and yeah, it could get really, really lonely. In the winter, it was freezing cold. And at that point, I was the only girl. Everyone else had gone apart from 5 boys, and they'd go off and do building all day, and then I'd be left in the kitchen. So definitely challenging. And it was at this time I had really deepened my yoga practice even more, and I'd arranged to go to India to do my teacher training. So I went off to India, and it was just transformational that month. I kind of dove into all things yoga and meditation. I learned so much about myself and studied myself, really delved deep into kind of what my trigger points were, what made me happy, what made me sad. So that was incredible. And then loved India so much that I spent another month, went to ashrams, just spent more time kind of immersing myself, studying yoga, learning with different teachers and gurus. And yeah, so that was incredible. And then at the end of that trip, I came back to Portugal, and I knew I needed to leave. I knew that it wasn't for me long term. I couldn't see how I was going to make a living out there. I felt more trapped there than free. I didn't feel free because I was so restricted, and I just knew it wasn't my dream anymore. So I made the decision to come home. And that was difficult. It was a really difficult decision to come home because I felt like a failure. I'd been gone about 6 years at this point, and I'd left Sydney for kind of adventure, and I was single and unemployed and, confused when I left for Sydney. And then I'd left for Portugal, and again, I was confused and unemployed, and then I'd come home, single, heartbroken, unemployed, even more confused, and I didn't really know what was the plan. And so much of me wanted to run to India actually, and just go and live and go for a while by the beach. But I knew I just felt really deeply that I had to stay and figure things out. And I wanted to, have some time with my family because I'm so close to my family and I missed them. So I decided I promised myself to stay and not run away. And that year was really important to me for lots of different reasons. But I started my first yoga business. So I started Katy in the Calm, which allowed me to kind of seek out lovely places to hire for yoga classes. So I hired a beautiful yurt locally, and I found a lovely barn to teach in. I started kind of growing this lovely community, which was really important to me, and run workshops. And then I started hiring houses nearby and running weekend retreats so I could kind of connect to my community even deeper. So it was amazing. It was a really lovely year. But again, I felt, oh goodness, I have to move out at some point. And I felt very deeply, I need to be of service. Everything that I've done so far has been for myself. I really feel deeply it's time for me to be of service. And I didn't really know what that would look like. And I spent some time in the refugee camp in Calais, working with refugees and helping refugees. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what that looked like. But then I started applying for not-for-profits and charity jobs. And eventually I found a job with the fostering service in Brighton, working with foster families and foster kids and social workers, and I loved the job. And I moved to Brighton and loved Brighton, was teaching yoga part-time, working for the fostering service, and just, yeah, just felt really happy. But as life often, as life happens, I then reconnected with my now husband, Ross. We'd known each other for 11 years, but kind of reconnected, and he was living in Edinburgh. I was living in Brighton. And basically had like a long distance relationship for a while, but then realized one of us had to make the move. And so after a lot of kind of umming and ahhing, I'd really felt a call to Scotland. I loved the ruggedness of the nature there, the people, just was really felt called to Scotland. So kind of made the move again and moved to Edinburgh. And that kind of brings me to 2017, was this? 2017, end of 2017. And again, started looking for charity jobs, working in not-for-profits, really wanted to get into the kind of a service industry somehow. Couldn't find anything, was getting nowhere. And after a couple of months, knowing that I needed to do something, I actually made the decision, okay, I think this is my time to be self-employed again. Now I really feel that I want to do something for myself. And my husband Ross was really supportive. He's like, I think you can do it. And at this time, I wasn't sure exactly what, but again, I thought I can incorporate the service part of this need to be of service into whatever business I do. So at this point, I've been practicing at what is now Calm for a while. I've been practicing yoga there, and I've been teaching there, done some cover classes. I think I had a regular class there as well, and I got to know the owner really well. And I just felt he was edging away from the studio. I felt he was kind of winding things down. And I started dreaming about the studio and being like, oh, this would be my dream opportunity. This would be my dream business. And I started telling friends and family, oh, this would just be, I don't know what I'm doing right now, but I really love this to be mine. And literally 2 weeks later, I got an email from the owner saying, I've decided to give up the lease. Does anyone want it? And I just jumped at the opportunity. It just literally felt that I'd manifested this opportunity and, it was suddenly going to become real. So that was just the most incredible thing to happen. It felt like it was a culmination of, loving yoga and wellness and community. I could, incorporate being of service. It would just seem like the combination of everything that was important to me. So we opened the studio in 2018. Yeah, April 2018. And it's just been a beautiful journey ever since. We've got 18 yoga teachers now. We've got 8 wellbeing therapists. We have 2 masseuses, an osteopath, a yoga therapist, a counselor, a herbalist, a nutritional therapist, an art therapist. So we really feel like we can support people in so many ways, not just through yoga, but through all these other holistic therapies. We can support your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, spiritual well-being. So it's been a real beautiful experience, and the teachers and the community we have there have just been incredible. I couldn't ask for a better community, and we've led women's circles there and men's circles and teacher trainings and mini retreats and supper clubs, and it really has been just a beautiful way to create community. So yeah, that was 2018, and it was amazing. And then 2019 was a whirlwind. We ended up stumbling across Old Kilman House, which we weren't in the position to buy it. We weren't looking to buy anything. We'd talked about a dream to have a retreat yoga and meditation retreat venue in time, but it certainly wasn't on our short-term radar at all. But we kind of stumbled across the house and we totally fell in love with it, and it ticked every single box and more of a place where we dreamt to take people away from like city life and to help people feel better. So we kind of thought, oh, you know what, let's just do it. We took a massive financial risk. We were busy anyway with the studio, and my husband works full time, and we just went for it. And that year was also the year we got married, and we had to do refurb on the house, quite a lot of refurb because it was really tired, needed some love. We put a yurt in the garden, and we started running yoga and meditation retreats through the studio, which was amazing. And I also got pregnant that year, so it was just a crazy year, but a beautiful one. And then that brings us to 2020. And what a year that was for all of us. Um, so, yeah, so I had my baby at the end of February, and then we went into lockdown 2 weeks later. And then we had to take the whole business, the studio, online. And it was a real challenge for the teachers, but they did amazingly. They have just been incredible because they had to navigate this whole new world where it's not natural. You didn't sign up as a yoga teacher to teach online. You know, you love being with people and the energy and hugging people and, you know, adapting your class depending on how the class is doing. And, you know, so it was hard, but they did amazingly. And then the old Kilman house obviously closed most of the year. And we ended up living there for a while because we just felt we might as well make the most of being in nature. But we were very isolated. You know, we didn't have any friends or family to even go for walks with, and having a newborn and being totally alone. And my husband was working full time. You know, it was challenging. It was difficult, and you know, there was financial worries, huge financial worries. A newborn baby, so much loss, so much grief. It was really, you know, it was really tough, and I feel really so grateful for the practices that I've developed over the last 10 years because I don't know how I would have coped without them. Um, so I thought it might be useful just to talk through some of those things. Um, the first one, of course, I have to talk about is the yoga. And I think it's worth saying that for 10 years before my 30s, so in my 20s, I just didn't love yoga, didn't resonate, was doing it at gyms, never really liked it, thought it was really uncomfortable. My body was really stiff. I wasn't flexible. I'm not from a dancing background. It didn't come naturally to me. And it was only when I was feeling kind of stressed when we were deciding to make this move to the community that I really got into yoga and I understood and it clicked for me. And I found the right studio, I found the right teacher, and I found the right style of yoga, and that's when it clicked. And you know, it's changed so much. My practice has changed so much. Initially, when I started, I was doing it, you know, 5, 6 times a week, 7 times a week, and I was just intrigued by how much my body was changing and how strong I was becoming and how much peace it brought me. And because of this feeling of peace, I just kept coming back and back and back, and needing it and craving it. But I was also doing really dynamic, fast, powerful yoga. I was doing headstands and handstands and all the rest of it. And now, you know, 10 years on, after having a baby, my body is so weak. My body is so stiff. You know, I'm carrying Albert in a sling all the time. My back hurts, my neck hurts. And all I want now in my practice is 10 minutes of child's pose, which is when you kind of just lie in surrender on the floor, you know, or very slow, nourishing movement. So I'd really urge you to try different styles of yoga. If you haven't found a style that suits you, don't give up on yoga. Find a different teacher, find a different style, find a different studio, and find one that suits you, because you will find one and it's transformational. Not in the way, you know, the way the body is as a result is a beautiful byproduct, but it's the way your body feels and your mind feels. It brings you so much peace. It brings you back to your body. It makes you feel safe in your body. It brings you calm and peace. So yoga and meditation this year and in the last 10 years has been so important. And meditation, you know, just 10 minutes like we did earlier is all it takes just to create some space and stillness. So again, I would really encourage you to try just doing 5 minutes of breathing. And this could be on your own even, or it could be led. And maybe if you're new to meditation, it would really help to have a guided meditation. In fact, you can jump on, we're doing a teacher takeover on our Instagram and Facebook at the moment. And we're doing 10 minutes every other day of guided meditation and 15 minutes every other day of slow flow. So yoga flow. So if you don't have an hour, which, you know, I don't at the moment, doing 10 minutes or 15 minutes every few days even can make such a difference. So I'd really encourage you to just see if it works for you. See if you know, you notice change. And the other practices which have been so important to me over the last year have been journaling. So I find writing really cathartic. Sometimes I can't find the words to articulate how I'm feeling, but I can always seem to express how I'm feeling on the page. Sometimes I just want to let everything out and express myself, and the page is a perfect place to do that. And it helps you make sense of what's going on in your mind. So again, I'd suggest trying it. Maybe not every day, but if you're having a really low day, if you're having a really hard day, perhaps write it down, express how you're feeling, and let it out rather than it becoming stale and stagnant in the body. Let it out. So that's really helped. Anchoring into a sense of gratitude has been so important. I find that there's always something to be grateful for amidst, the fear, the uncertainty, the loneliness, the grief, the loss. There is always something to be grateful for, and you just have to look for it. And some days it's harder than others. Some days it's really difficult to find anything to be grateful for. But it could be that you've got a roof over your head, that you've got a cup of tea in your hand, that you've got like a pet that you can stroke. It could be that you've got a book that you can read. So yeah, that's another practice I'd recommend. Reading, being careful of what you consume, media wise, being really mindful of what you consume. Don't watch the news too much. Be careful of what you watch on TV. If you're watching kind of murder programs every day, or anything too scary or sad or harrowing, just be careful of what you consume. Trying to fill the body and mind up with kind of more positive things at the moment is really important. Trying to find something to make you laugh, to make you feel better. So just being careful of the ways you consume media, and spending too much on time. I know it's difficult at the moment because that's the way we connect, through the digital space, but just finding ways to kind of disconnect. So walks in nature, get outside, even 15 minutes, read a book rather than spend too much time scrolling through Instagram or Facebook. So so those are my kind of key things. And it's kind of circling all the way back to promises. My biggest promise now, knowing all the promises I've made and broken to myself over the last 10 years, my greatest promise now is not to make promises to myself. I set intentions with the caveat that things change. No more than ever have I learned that than this year. I can't make plans. How can I can't promise myself anything at the moment because everything's changing, and putting that pressure on myself isn't helping myself at the moment. And I just want to be kinder to myself, be gentle, not expect too much, put one foot in front of the other, take it moment by moment, day by day. Don't look ahead too far, stay right rooted in the moment. And I think that's all we can expect of ourselves right now. So I hope you look after yourselves. I hope you're gentle with yourself. And we'd love to see you at the studio. If you ever fancy some yoga, come and join us. We'd love to see you. We've got beautiful teachers. But just be gentle with yourself this year. It's been a really tough time, and we all need to take some time to kind of reflect and take a pause and just be gentle. So thank you for listening, and take care of yourself.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Katy. That was really nourishing and enriching. I really, really enjoyed that. Personally, I thought that was amazing. And I think especially setting us off with that meditation at the start just really got us back into our bodies, I think, definitely. I think, like exactly as you're saying, finding that time for yourself, even if it's 10, 15 minutes, just to breathe and be present, it's so important.
Absolutely.
It's so important.
And as our meditation teacher says, and I just love this, it's look after your wellness rather than your illness. So keep looking after your wellness, keep yourself well.
I love that. That's lovely. That's really lovely. Some amazing points in your talk there, and I'm sure we've got some amazing questions from the audience. So Matt, if you have our first question for the Q&A to kick us off.
So Claire has a question, which is, out of everything that you've done and all the places that you've traveled, what's the one thing that you've learned that is most important to you through that process?
Oh, self-study, 100%. Know yourself, understand your trigger points, what makes you happy, how to calm yourself down. If you're going through a difficult time, what do you need? And for me, that's the yoga, that's stillness and calm, and creating that. And it's the idea that I'm responsible for my own well-being, and I'm responsible to make myself feel better. No one else is. It's me. So I need to, understand what it is that I need when I'm going through a difficult time. So definitely that.
That's a really, I love that answer, because I guess when we're thinking about how we serve others and how we kind of help others in the world, how we interact with others, no matter what you're going to do, you need to feel happy and kind of solid within yourself before you can give that out. So
absolutely, it starts from within, and once you create calm and happiness within, it radiates out and you become a better mum, a better partner, a better friend. So it's not self-indulgent. I think we've been taught to think that it's selfish to spend this time looking after ourselves, but it's essential if we want to go out into the world in the best possible state, to spread, happiness and to show up in a really positive and strong way. It helps us be strong people, and we need to be resilient more than ever at the moment. And we gather and we muster and we create resilience through building our inner strength.
amazing. Fantastic. Matt, have we got another question there for Katy?
Just to follow on from that, Isabel wants to know what your favorite yoga pose is and why.
Child's pose every time. Oh, so just so everyone knows, it's basically when you you kneel down onto the floor and you stretch your arms out all behind you and you just surrender to the earth. And it's a very nourishing, very simple but very lovely pose, and you feel very held and very calm. And yeah, it's my favorite by far.
Fantastic.
Another question, Ross has asked, how much of your journey since 2010 has been guided by following your heart rather than your head? And
Yeah, all of it, to be fair. Yeah. Yeah, my gut speaks very loudly, and so everything, I guess, really has been, I'd say the only decision that was actually all of them, there's been a kind of a tug where, especially when my heart wanted to go back to India, but my head was like, oh, I should probably stay. But also my heart was like, I think you should stay. So yeah, I think definitely majority has been heart-led, 100%. But that, the head always wants to interfere a little bit.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting what you're saying about the push and pull of it as well, because I guess there's so many instances in life where you kind of have to, you'll be at a crossroads and you'll have to weigh up options, and sometimes one will be saying one thing and one will be saying the other. And I guess as long as your heart's not saying don't do this, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely. And I always think that these other practices, yoga, meditation, lets the heart speak. So when you're in stillness, when you're in silence, your inner voice has a chance to actually speak. So during normal life, our thinking mind, our conscious mind, that's the one that's always dominant. And it's during the practices where you slow everything down and you try and rest the thinking mind, that's when your soul speaks. That's when your inner heart space has a chance to really express and has a chance to speak. So that's why it's important to have these quiet moments that your thinking mind can just back down a little bit, and other parts of your soul can actually have a chance to guide you and be led, and you can actually listen to your inner voice.
Lovely. So important. Matt, have you got any other questions there?
Well, I was actually wondering how does sort of the philosophy and the spiritual side of yoga and meditation, how does that feed into sort of running your own business? Is that compatible?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, it was really important to create like a happy place for people to, well, not only clients, but also my team. I want my team to be happy and I want them to support each other. I don't want any unkindness in the team. I don't want any kind of drama. We all support each other. We're kind of collaborators. We're not in competition with each other. We support each other, and we've been really, really lucky with a beautiful team of people. They're absolutely amazing. They support each other. They support me. They support the community. They're totally passionate about what they do. Also, to have the balance between making a profit, because without that we can't exist, and also giving back. So I didn't really touch on the service part of the studio, but that's a huge part. We have a free class every week for foster carers. We have a donation-based class every week, and it raises money for Health in Mind. We just before lockdown, we started a class every week for Steps, with a charity called Steps to Hope, who provide free yoga to people suffering from addiction. We partner with Foursquare, who are an amazing charity who work with people at risk of homelessness. So support them and their mindfulness project. We've started a yoga class in a women's hostel in the centre of Edinburgh. And we're just about to start another donation-based yoga class, raising money for Intercultural Youth Scotland, so that we kind of make sure that yoga is getting to the people who need it most. So that's been a massive part of the studio. And so it's that balance of making a profit, but also making sure we're giving back. So that's been, key to me, and kindness, and a nice, safe sanctuary for people to be. So yeah, definitely the integration of both the philosophical and the practical, I guess.
That's really interesting, and I guess it kind of very much ties into your point of promising to be of service. And I think a big part of that, it's really amazing that you do all these things, and that you're mentioning all of these things, because I think we often forget that being able to go to a yoga class is a luxury for some people, and not everyone can. And what I found really interesting, you mentioned at the end kind of different ways of self-care. You're saying about yoga, meditation, journaling, gratitude, reading, and kind of watching what you're reading and what you're not reading. All of these things, you don't require anything to be able to do them, which is amazing.
Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. Going to yoga and paying for yoga is a real privilege. And yeah, and so we that's why donation-based yoga is really important to us, so that if you've got nothing, you can still get to yoga. But you're right, all these other practices, nature, reading, gratitude, journaling, they're all things that are free, and I think that's a really good point, that you don't need to have loads and loads of money to access those things to make yourself feel better. So there are ways you can feel better for free.
Fantastic.
Debbie's just asked if you could talk a little bit about the Wellness Festival and the links to other local businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I forgot to mention that as well. So part of our, thanks for that, Debbie. So every year, the first 2 years, we did this big Wellbeing in the West End Festival. And part of, again, our kind of business ethos is partnering with local businesses. And we love partnering with local businesses, especially in the West End where we're based. And so every year we were doing kind of a big 2-day wellbeing festival, and we basically created it with a couple of other businesses, and it kind of grew to a really good size. And we offered, it was a ticketed event, so you'd get 2 days of amazing classes and talks and workshops in lots of different venues across the West End, offering anything from talks on nutrition to yoga classes and sound baths and kind of music. And all the money raised would go to the charities that we work really closely with, which and so basically it was like a big a fundraiser, and that has been a huge part of our community ethos, is just to partner with and support local businesses, because we all need to help each other, and we're all offering amazing things locally. And especially now, it's been really tough, really tough. So where we can, we really love to partner with businesses. So if you're a local business, then please talk to us, because and also if you work in a business that could benefit from a weekly yoga class, we started to do quite a few corporate yoga classes every week, where we do kind of an online yoga class just for your business, and we found that has been brilliant for people, especially now. But we've also got therapists who can talk on nutrition, or an introduction to meditation, or herbalism, or massage techniques. So we've done quite a few well-being sessions for businesses as well, because we have so many therapists who are experts and can talk so passionately about what they do and how they can help the body and mind. So yeah.
Fantastic. I love that culture of boosting everyone up around you, and working together to kind of showcase what everyone's up to, and boost everyone, as opposed to I don't know, just serving yourself and focusing on your own thing. I like that a lot.
Sorry, and what I was going to say, just what we found is that none of the success of the studio would have been possible alone. Like, none of it is possible without everyone else. So more than ever, this idea of community has been so important, because we're all relying on each other to uplift each other. And I think that you know, is kind of probably relevant in life as well. We need each other to boost each other and support each other and encourage each other. So yeah, that's been a good learning as well.
Absolutely. Matt, do you mind if I grab one last question I spotted that I like the look of? Is that okay?
Go for it.
Nice one. I can't actually see the chat, so I'm going to have to try and remember it. So I'm sorry whoever asked it if I absolutely butcher it. But you mentioned, and just in your last answer there, went over all the kind of the different services that CAM offers and the kind of more holistic approach to well-being, like you're saying, the herbalist, massage therapist, all that kind of stuff. The question was for someone who's looking for kind of new and different ways to kind of look after their well-being. Where should they start? What should they start with? I think was the question.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? It's a difficult one because if you're feeling stressed and anxious and kind of lonely, I mean, there are different things depending on what works. And what I'd probably say is try different things. You know, I'd always say, you know, try yoga because and meditation, because that has been my journey. But you know, some people need kind of, at the moment it's not possible, but more physical support, and so massage is an amazing way, you know, of you know, self-care. So for some people it might be massage. If you're struggling within your body from, you know, bloating or lack of sleep, it might be that you need to look at your nutrition. So I'd say it really depends what the issue is. But for general well-being, I'd always say to start with yoga meditation, and you know, reach out to us. You know, if you're confused about where to start, you know, start at a beginner's class, or you know, reach out and we can recommend something for you. We've got everything at the studio. We've got kind of power, we've got stronger flows, but we've also got really slow flows. We've got restorative, which is a type of yoga where you literally just lie on the floor and prop yourself up with blankets and pillows, and it's much more meditative, and it's to restore the body, and it doesn't need you to be, you know, physically fit or flexible or anything like that. And we've got yin, we've got really slow, nourishing practices. So I'd say you can reach out to me, you know, email us at the studio, and we can help you decide what it might be that you need in starting out in your yoga practice. Or you know, go on our website, go on our Facebook or our Instagram, and do a 10-minute guided meditation. You know, on the IGTV, on our Facebook page, there's videos, and there's lots of different types of meditation by different teachers, and have a listen, see what things resonate with you, because it's different for everybody. Everyone's experience will be different, and everybody's needs will be different. And also what resonates with me might not resonate with you. So it's a very personal experience, but there's so many different things out there in terms of the yoga styles and the meditation styles that you will find something that works. It's just a case of trying things out. So I'd say kind of test and learn to begin with, to see what works for you. But I'd also say try not to promise yourself you'll do an hour every day or an hour 3 times a week. Start small, start really, really small. Start with a 5-minute meditation, you know, every day for a week or something. And don't try commit to, you know, doing an hour of meditation. Don't try and sit in meditation for an hour when you're new to meditation, for example. And even with the yoga, you know, as you might want to start with a 45-minute class. We've got, you know, 45-minute flows. We've got the 15-minute flows on our Facebook and Instagram page. Start small, you know, and don't put pressure on yourself. Just see what works for you. Test and learn, I'd say.